Hey, Roaddogg here. The interview you're getting ready to see is Rise and Create Wrestling Camp. They are in Mojave Valley, Arizona. It's owned by Joe Rogers, and his assistant is Cody Dreamheart. Cody, number one. He's one of them high flyers, man. So, but I think you'll enjoy this. The more I've got to know the guys and watch them and watch them work, they're my new project. They're what I'm focusing on now. So, like I said, I think you'll enjoy this. If you don't like wrestling, maybe you will after this. But Rise and Create. All the information for the school will be during the interview, and I'll show it afterwards. Peace, love, dog out.
It's fun. We have a good time. And then the more people we get, the more support, the more networking, the more, salute. Everything just grows and grows. I tell you, that Kingwood Comic Con was amazing. Just,
But that was small.
it was small.
Fairgrounds, man, he had 2 buildings the size of that.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It was-
That's when I met him.
Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, it was smaller than what I was expecting, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Did he do the same thing at the fairgrounds, like the King McCon over at the fairgrounds last time? Or is there a
Yeah,
different
it was
event?
at Fairgrounds. I think September he's doing another one, and that's when I hooked him up with Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother.
Oh, really?
That's him right here.
Oh, gosh, that guy? Man, me and my girl talk about him. That's cool, though.
First, I got
He's
the
beautiful.
ice cream one up there, the ice cream one from him.
Yeah.
And I looked over and I saw Jungle Book, and Jungle Book has always been my favorite Disney cartoon.
That's
I'm like, why you got Jungle Book up here? He said, I played the elephant.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh shit, I gotta get that.
That's
too."
cool. Fun facts.
Yeah.
But you would never know walking in there,
Yeah.
He's in so many things. It's crazy.
But the picture underneath that, you can see me and him, and then he's outside by my bike when we were leaving. We all left at the same time. I asked him, I went to a comic book store, a guy had a shelf. I said, can I get an interview with you? And he gave me an email. He said, here, email me at this, give me all your info.
That's awesome.
And it took me about a year, but I finally caught up with him in Michigan. I got girls there, so I just went there, and interviewed him there.
Nice.
But he's cool. He's really cool, And Big Mike, I hooked him up with him. Like I asked him first, I don't just give people
Of course.
up,
Of course. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, Big Mike seems like a really cool guy. We've been talking a little bit, and of course, he's a big wrestling fan as well. And I think that kind of helps. But business-wise, I feel like we're going to be able to do something together. Don't really know exactly what it is. Don't want to say it without knowing as well.
Yeah.
But some things are on the table, and it could be something small, to come across people or different companies. It could just be cross promotion, marketing, whatever. But it could be something big where you're in shows together or you do joint stuff. Me and Cody have been talking a lot about different ideas and different things we could do with different companies here. And the sky's the limit, really. So pretty exciting. But
So how long have you had? What's the company name?
it's called Rise and Create. Or Rise and Create.
Okay.
Apostrophe N, apostrophe CRA. Now it's a little hard to remember, and if you look at it, some people might not even know exactly what it is, but it's something I didn't know it was going to actually turn into wrestling either. It was originally just a website where I was going to start learning programs and books and stuff, and it's a long story, but the name was created by my girlfriend Brittany. I think she said it one day, and I don't remember the context of it. And then it's actually like a long story, but I was outside by myself, having kind of a little bit of a spiritual time, going through a little bit of a journey. Things were kind of bad for me at the time, and kind of in a slump. And I swear, just as I'm talking to you now, I heard Rise and Create, and since she had mentioned it like the week before, I was like, that's it. I'm gonna open a business. That's what it's gonna be called, And I like to play on the. With the CRA.
Yeah, I looked at it. I was like, he's gonna have to tell me what this is.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's different.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
unfortunate, that part. But I will say this. It was an easy transition, logistically, to just add wrestling to the company. But when it comes to promoting shows and things like that, me and Cody have been talking, I kind of like the idea of like Rise Championship Wrestling, RIZE, you know. So we can make it easier eventually,
Yeah,
and easier for people to find. But you know, for right now, all the socials and the website is on all our marketing material, and hopefully I don't spell it wrong. You know, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to grow. We've only been around since December.
Since December, okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many classes have you had so far?
Good question. So when we initially started, I wanted to do something to where, because I had been out of the ring for X amount of months, I don't know, 6 months or something. I got an elbow injury, it's still nagging me. And I needed to find an A1, some sort of assistant or someone I could trust or someone that could learn really quickly. I was going to have them come in 2 hours early. We'd roll through what we're going to do that night. I mean, it had to be quick, but then that way he could help me show the class how to do it. Because you can't really do it by talking.
Yeah.
I could talk all day, but I need a body to move and then me talk about how he moved or why he moved that way. So, you know, it kind of takes two to tango with the training. And so somehow, some way, I came across Cody on social media, and it was an old account. He didn't even answer, but I sent him this long message like, hey man, I saw you have experience FSW, you know, and you live in Golden Valley. I'm like, holy cow, we got to get together. And he didn't answer, so I was like, oh, that's too bad. So I was looking for somebody else before I opened. And then eventually he did answer. I think I might have got a hold of him a different way. Maybe.
Email, yeah. Of all things.
Yeah, I tried again. I was like,
It was an email.
and anyway, but once he was locked in, I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get started, because me and him, while we're waiting for enrollments, me and him, we could go in and start doing the actual camp. You know, like I said, he'd had some experience, and you know, our camp is I'm just talking about it now. It's essentially from A to Z. It's very structured. I have to really hit home the fact that like a wrestling school is completely different. It really is. That's why there's only about 5-6 camps in America. A camp is you know, anywhere from an 8 to 12 week course. Generally, they're almost all 12 now.
12, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, well, that's not enough time to learn anything. But you have to understand, you know, that's, I don't know how many hours, I've done the math, but, you know, we do 3 or 4 hours a day, 3-4 days a week. We've been doing 4 days. We'll probably do 3 on the next one, make it a little easier. And, you know, stretch it to the 12 weeks. And so, you know, honestly, it is enough time when you get done with what the tools that you have. Because, like I said, everything's so structured. You go to a wrestling school, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what kind of class is going to be taught. You could be on your 3rd day and your buddy next to you has been wrestling for 10 years and you're taught the same class. That don't make any sense. Yeah. And I went to wrestling school, you know, quite a few of them. Not a knock on them either. It works eventually.
I mean, I learned a lot from FSW in the 3 months, but
Yeah, but
it wasn't really enough to get your foot quite further than you'd like. You know, and you don't really learn the structure of a match when you go in there. Like you said, you kind of just, you show up on that day, and it could be an advanced class you're going to be sitting the whole time, you know. But if you're in a camp in a 12-week and you're in an enrollment, you will have an automatic spot. You are going to learn the fundamentals from day 1 all the way to 12 weeks. You know, I had a little bit of experience when I walked in the door, but at the end of 12 weeks when we were running, doing everything, now I have a character, backstory. I get to work a full match, you know. Timing, it's just a structure of things that you learn day in and day out when you're there, rather than new coach every night, new fundamentals. We're gonna work on this, we're gonna work on that. You just you go in there, you know what you're gonna be doing, and you just repetition.
I drove truck for 34 years, semi. And at one point, trying to get out of a truck, I taught. And it was a 3-week course, and you know, it's not like 12, but the guys would be, oh, I'm a trucker. No, you're not. You only got the basics. You know, you still got to go somewhere else and learn more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's like that with you guys too.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah,
100%. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, like Cody just said, you literally never stop learning. And so, you know, we offer extended training after the 12 weeks for anybody that wants to keep coming. And I recommend 100% keep coming. I learn new stuff all the time. We're all going to.
are they charged for that?
I charge $150 a month for the extended. Yeah.
For the extended?
Yeah, and that's, you know, forever. And but for the 12-week course, what that does is basically by the time you leave, like Cody said, and I appreciate the kind words, When you leave at the end of those 12 weeks, you do have a character. We get you in-house music. We'll get you, how to get your gear, how to write a resume. I'll try and help get everybody booked, as long as they can pass the class and graduate. Now, it don't take much. You just got to be able to learn and listen and be able to physically maneuver your body at the appropriate time. But generally, everyone's going to pass. I mean, if they don't, that's okay too. We have the extended training. We'll work on whatever it is that wasn't quite there, because I want everyone to succeed. That's why I'm doing this. Like,
Yeah.
creating things and then having them leave the nest, so to speak, is like can be just as rewarding as doing it yourself.
Yeah, everybody learns at a different pace. It's just as long as you don't give up and you don't stop, that's the bread and butter. Once you stop, it's done. But if you keep going, you get knocked down, you fail, you learn from your failures, and you keep going. That's just the extended training is, like you said, I recommend everything for everybody. Even if you're at school or camp, it doesn't matter. Always progress and find other ways to get better. Whether it's someone in the ring, different schools and camps to where you're going to learn different things from other people other than this guy. It's just, you never stop learning, because we are in the business of creating.
And there's different shapes and sizes of people. Like Cody said, you really need to be able to keep going and then learning different things from different people. Even if they haven't been around as long as you, they might know something that you don't, or pick something up. Hey, what about this? Or hey, we tried that. And, we're big on safety, of course. And like Cody said, fundamentals. So by the time you, quote, leave, which hopefully they don't leave, but by the time you leave that 12-week camp, you can work a match. So what we teach you is basically at least a move in every scenario, sometimes two, maybe more, depending. But the point is that you know how to work a match. I went to wrestling school for a long time. I watched wrestling all my life. I didn't know there was like an almost exact formula that they follow. Now that we have, you can go watch TV and you're like, okay, now they're going to do this, now they're going to, and there's terms for it and this and that. And it's not to say these schools wouldn't eventually have said anything, but I don't see why they didn't, because it's crucial to what you're doing. And you don't always have to follow it exact. That's what's great about the formula, is you can kind of place it around and do this over here, false finishes at the end, and whatever the case may be. But a general match, you're going to have what's called a shine, which is a real back and forth with the heel in the face, good guy and bad guy. Generally, that could be chain wrestling, whatever, right? But the face always gets the comeuppance. And so, just to kind of give you an example of like the beginning of what the entire structure may or may not be. But I didn't even know what that was until I was trained, what I call officially trained, which you never stop training, right? At Flatbacks in Apopka, Florida. And that's ran and owned by Tyler Breeze and Blake, Sean Spears. Yeah. And I had a lot of help from Colton Gunn as well. And that was an 8-week course at the time. But that was 4 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. So I moved there, and I ended up, right before ending the first camp, I had a staph infection, like the size of a football, growing in my back. I had to go I didn't go to the ER, but they told me to go to the ER. I ended up flying home the next day. I didn't have a choice, but they welcomed me to come back and retake it, which was great. So I went back there twice. And,
What caused that? Was it anything with wrestling, or just
I don't think so, no.
just happened?
Yeah, I really don't know what it was. You hear about guys getting staph infections in wrestling from time to time. That could be a lot of various different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know, or especially the place where it was. It was odd, very odd. But that was heartbreaking to not be able to finish and go home and come back. But luckily they welcomed me back, and
Twice the experience.
Twice the experience, right? Yeah. And even though it's the same exact course, the idea, I mean, like I can tell you right now, Tyler Breeze and Mr. Spears, they helped train at NXT. Spears wrestling in NXT. They're right close. They're employees or 1099s of WWE. And so and they've had great careers, and they continue to have that success and that connection. And so it's a great place to go to learn and grow if you already are wrestling. When I was in the class at Flatbacks, there was a guy there that had already been working 7 years, but a lot of us were on day one. Me, I had 4 or 5 months experience in different other places, but man, going through that structure, it was like, this just makes sense. Like, why are they all not this way? A wrestling school is so drop-in, You know, guy comes in, signs his name. Okay, you know, here you are. It might take you a couple years before you get to wrestle, if right. Sometimes 6 months. It just depends. Depends on how much time you get.
Correct.
We want smaller classes for more one-on-one time.
Yeah. Say that's not knocking on any of the schools because, right, well, FSW is a gateway to the WWE. They're affiliated with all that. So, I mean, there's nothing like that. But, you know, we have something out here that is an amazing opportunity for people to get in their foot in the door. If you have been a wrestling fan, if you want to get affiliated with this business, Rise and Create is here waiting for it. You know, I took the big step of changing my entire life. You know, I was just in a really long relationship with 2 boys, and I walked away from it because a lot happened, and it's just blah 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 blah. But this has always been my life, and I had an amazing opportunity. Joe gave me that opportunity to be the A1. I turned it into something bigger and better, and now, you know, we're sitting here side by side creating history in the making. You know, this is our 3rd open house, and it just keeps getting bigger and better and better. Once we get those enrollees and people that see we can start moving, we can send people out there and to show Cody Dreamheart was the start of Rise and Create, and, you know, it's here waiting for the next person.
And I'm very proud of that. Not everybody's going to be a Cody. You know, Cody really is amazing. I love his mental acuity. Everything that he does and thinks is so on point with me. You know, and it's just like, man, he's just right there. You're not going to have that with everybody.
Kind of reading each other's mind.
Yeah, the creative, like, you know, like he's got, you know, about 12 years on me, but the creative side of both of us just kind of brings out the best of us, and that's how the magic happens.
I could go to tell him something, and he's able to finish my sentence, and I'm like, what do you know? Let's do it now.
Yeah, that's a link right there.
Yeah.
Chemistry, and that's what you want in the business, you know.
And so I totally trust him to, and love that he's here to be able to help me. You know, that being said, like I said, I've been in wrestling school and camps, and some people just can't do it, and that's okay. Or they can't get it. They can't win over their body in certain ways. You don't know till you get in there. It really is.
I wish I'd have done something like that
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. A lot of people say that, and we're here to try and make that to where maybe
You still take a belt?
say that. So, yeah, Keith was in there.
Why?
Keith is doing it.
I got a buddy who's
Only a couple
about the
times.
same age. I was worked out this morning. He wants to get in there
Okay,
too.
what's the bump?
Back bump. They're your standard back bumps, back to mat. Yeah, you know when you come to the open house, you're gonna find out what a bump is. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the phrase, you know, like a bump, like you said, standard bump. So basically, it's learning how to fall.
Correct. Breaking the fall.
You're pretty much gonna fall that way on almost every move, or whether you know. So anyway, but yeah, they call it a bump, and there's like 7 things that go into just that. Sometimes it can be nerve-wracking. There can be a lot on your mind, and then you know, biggest thing is tuck your chin. You know, and we've already had a few guys that didn't do that, and it's like, whoa, hold on, you're gonna get hurt. You know, like biggest thing, like I said, is safety, and not everybody's gonna learn at the same pace. Not everybody's gonna be able to do it with you. It's okay. I want to quit. You know,
Still, people will learn the hard way, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
but you know, we're not trying to weed anyone out or be mean. And I've been places where they know it's every style, that thing. And I'm more like just try to make it real and do it good for everybody. You know, I'm not going to put anyone down, but I want to be straight up at the same time. You know, and just try to help people get to that next level. So the best I can, and myself. You know, this is another opportunity for me to keep doing what I want to do, and was very fortunate at the right time, right place, with the right partner and business partner to be able to get this going and off the ground. So here we go.
So this has been going since December,
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
How much experience do you have?
A good question. A lot of people ask me that. And honestly, when it comes to training, you should have a good trainer. You should know their background. And I've had people, only a couple, you know, maybe to themselves, but a couple that actually directly to me was like, well, you know, what do you have? Like, why would I learn from you? Like, you know, why are you training? And I'll tell you why. Because first of all, if this was a wrestling school, no way. I wouldn't do that. I don't have the experience. A wrestling camp, an exact camp that doesn't deviate or change, at least not majorly, right? It's going to be the same every time. I could teach that in my sleep, like the back of my head. Like, you know, really well too. Like it's not like I'm not winging it. I'm not guessing. Like all the moves that go into my camp that I teach, and it's not just moves, that's really the junk at the end. It's the timing and the ring awareness and the safety and the structure and the conditioning. And there's so much that goes into being a performer inside that box, inside that square circle. Those are the things that we go promo, character work, as much as we can within that time. And I can, eventually show that this is going to be a thing. This is going to work. We are, here to play. We are here to stay. Cody, like I said, the first one to come out of that is going to prove the world that hey, this is what we're doing, and it's very positive. It takes a while because I'm not a 40-year vet that's gonna teach a wrestling school random stuff different night. No offense to them, once again. Look, there's some great trainers out there.
Oh, amazing.
What's the difference between a camp and a school?
So, for example, kind of like I was saying, we have a 12-week camp. A school doesn't have a time frame. It's completely drop-in. Yep. That's why the guy next to you that might be on day 2 and you're on year 10. And then another problem with all the schools, especially in the bigger cities, you could have 25 people for a night. I was eventually counting the time. I'd drive up to Vegas and I would get like 5 minutes of ring time. Not their fault. They have so many people. Right?
Yeah.
But at a camp, generally most camps, they need all the money up front before they touch you. We were the first ones to offer payments. Now 1 or 2 others are doing it, which is great. It's a different thing to look at because it's like, okay, do I want to go to the school and just see what happens? And it's monthly. I can quit anytime I want. Or do I want to go to this camp where, they're claiming I can wrestle at the end of these 12 weeks, but it costs X amount. So the value and right now our price point is extremely competitive, and once again, that comes back to we're new. I don't have a huge name in this business, right? Not yet. And so, that's what it comes down to is like, okay, well, once we start showing and start pumping people out there into the wrestling world and say, look, this is what we can do, all the, the name value goes up, the recognition goes up, people start, brand awareness, all that stuff. So I think it's going to be great. I'm just excited to be on the journey and enjoy the ride. And we have WrestleCon coming up, April 16th to the 19th or 20th?
Night.
Mania week.
20th. Yeah, 16th and 20th.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, they'll be at the Horseshoe Casino. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
WrestleCon. It's gonna be great, man, because they project to be 50 to 60,000 wrestling fans coming through that, right? Having tickets and someone. Well, you can't get better exposure than being in front of 50,000 wrestling fans. Kingdom Comic Con, was a couple hundred local people that don't know anything about anything, which is fine. But man, if we can get on a national level and say, hey, we're here, people will move to the camp. You usually move to a camp. I moved to Florida for the camp twice. You can't go to a camp if it's 12 weeks long and you live in Carolina. You know what I mean? You got to move there. So we're trying to soak up all the local people we can that want to enroll, that have a passion for this. But once we have national exposure and people start to move here, I think it's really where the bread and butter is going to be for that.
Now, can somebody walk around there and hand out your flyers?
At the camp?
At the,
Comic Con?
yeah.
WrestleCon? I don't see why not. Why not? Because we're gonna have a table, they call it a booth, wherever, just like at the And so, but
I mean, if I can help you out anyway, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, that'd be great.
I'd be more happy.
Yeah,
Because that's really, we just need that 1 or 2 people to show, hey, we're here. We may not have the biggest following and we're in a small local area. We're not Vegas, but we are here. We know what we're doing. We know the structure of a match. Like you said, we're going to teach you the promo skills. You're going to know moves to work a full match. Now, we're not going to teach you lucha libre moves, but you're going to know how to bump. You're going to know how to keep somebody safe. You're going to know how to shine. You're going to know the heat. You're going to know the structure of a match. So when you go out at 12 weeks, you're going to have everything ready to go to where the foot is in the door. You either take off of the opportunity that you were given these 12 weeks or you hang it up, but we're here. It's possible. Mm-hmm. I am the spitting definition of success for Rise and Create. Mm-hmm. Cody Dreamheart, the Golden Standard, we we are here. You know, this is the beginning of a major time, and there's no better time for us to go and expose it to WrestleMania weekend. You know, the wrestling world will be watching.
And the wrestling is at all-time high. I mean, at least
Oh, yeah, right.
yeah, financially, you know.
The more it used to be, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, and the reason I'm asking is I've had this story on me at the paper here.
Mm-hmm.
I post in the paper, you know, I can put something up of you guys too.
Yeah, that'd
Do
be
you
great.
do that at all yourself?
Like,
Advertise?
I mean, yes, but pretty much everything I've done. Let's put it this way: most of the money that I had to get going, I put in meta ads. I was told after research and different AI, like, hey, this is the way to go, which I understand. Online, okay, social media and things like that. So I dumped a lot of media into meta ads, and that was great. I mean, the webpage had like 38,000 views, which is amazing for the area. So obviously, you know, and bleed it over nationally. But you're able to pick, of course, where you want those targeted ads, which is great. But I haven't done like a radio spot or a billboard, or you know what I mean. Like, we're just not quite there yet. But you know, still exploring all the different avenues and possibilities, and you know,
I'm trying to get
yeah, I would say, yeah, I would love to be in a local paper. You know, I just yeah, it's something I haven't crossed with yet.
I'm just saying I'll help any way I can.
That'd be great.
I love
Appreciate it.
wrestling,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a belt,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but a kid, you know, Dad would take me. Pastor Paul would take me. You know, we would go down and go to Cobo Arena in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
And that was big time wrestling, I believe is what it was called then.
Yeah. Was that the Sheik promoting that?
Oh yeah.
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 Good.
The original Sheik.
Yeah, the original.
Father,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, he was really cool. See, and I went to work there at 14 years old, and I got to meet a lot of the wrestlers. I'd see them back there on the mats, going through what they were gonna do, or whatever. Or I'd know who was gonna win when they went out. You know,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you were smartened up pretty quick. Yep.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with both of you. Yeah. Fake.
Dirty word. A dirty word.
I get very offended
Yeah.
That's something that people say
Yeah.
as a derogatory, you know.
when you don't know anything about the.
They don't know, right?
I don't know, and I understand that too. But why? Okay, like, do you watch any TV show? Is The Sopranos fake?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a TV show. You know, wrestling is a TV produced show. It just happens to have wrestling on it, right? But the inside the ring can be a very dangerous area. Accidents happen all the time, and you have to have some sort of athleticism and be able to maneuver your body. And the biggest thing about, like, when we said take a bump, is most of the things you're doing in the ring goes against what your natural reaction of your mind wants to do. Because when you go to fall, you can't protect yourself.
Yeah.
You break your arm, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to learn how to throw yourself, caution to the wind, and remember all these different things to do with your body that normally wouldn't do, to make it look the way that it looks and perform the way that you perform. So at first, it's very much like, wow, you know, your mind will kick in and like throw your arm down and stuff like that. But if you do that, you're more likely to get hurt than any other time. But yeah, you know, people wrestling are injured all the time.
Yeah, look at Sid Vicious.
Gosh, oh man,
Yeah, I mean, it says right there.
That leg snapped right there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
come right up.
Yep.
You know.
It says right in every beginning. Yes, it's every time,
You know. So.
but the hazards are real.
Yeah.
Every single
Yeah.
time you smack the mat, hit the ropes, somebody they strike you, boot. It doesn't matter. Every single thing that you do in that ring is physically and mentally taxing on the body.
I have to
perfectly.
respect that. I asked Hammond. I said, "What do you think when somebody calls what you do fake?" You know.
So you will slap them in the face.
He's well. What first thing he said? He said, "Let me put him in the ring and crack him across the chest." He said, "Let me put him, you know, slam him down on the mat." He said, "I'll show him fake." You know? I always ask that, and the reason I ask ask that is to lead into it is scripted. It is dangerous. If you get two wrestlers in that you get one too rough or something,
Sure.
or one that's not quite as good as the other guy, something could happen. That's like Brock Lesnar. A lot of people don't want to wrestle him because he's just too damn rough.
Yeah.
Goldberg, he was the same way.
Yeah, everybody has a different style, and some people maybe aren't as good as other people for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, rougher, stiffer. It depends on how you want to work, I guess. But if people aren't willing to work with you, you should probably tone it down a little bit. But there's ways of making it look at least to where you can get lost in it. Like I'm not gonna say real. Guys that usually don't run against the ropes in a real fight, right? But that's just not what it is. It's you have to let go and let your imagination take over, and it's just like I want to see a good movie or a physical play in front of you, but there's nothing else like it on the planet.
You're telling a story, and when it's done to a degree, there's nothing that beats it.
Yeah.
We've all had things going on in life, but we can all agree that you turn on one of your favorite wrestling matches or pay-per-views and just takes everything away a little bit. Has just always been. So I mean, it's
Well, it's like me, man. I got to watch Raw. I got to watch SmackDown.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view.
yeah. It keeps when you're affiliated. Yeah. Yep. When you're passionate about it, it is just your life, it's your livelihood.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we want is people to come in to have some passion.
Yep.
People like myself or Cody or like you, honestly. I'd love for you to come down and be a part of everything we're doing, and that's what we
You
want.
invited me. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, right.
We can't wait to put on
Or
a show
just
for you.
let me know. I'll bring camera and you.
Which is cool because with this is directly after WrestleMania, and literally a week after, and we don't know who we're gonna bring in
Hey, that's
that week.
25th, right?
Absolutely, that's a week after Mania, so it's just
My birthday's 28th, so.
There you go.
Very nice. Yeah, I'll be all set.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right, I'll give him a good whacking for your birthday.
Birthday wax.
Slap me
I'm like, this is for
somewhere,
you,
right?
Roaddogg.
Get in here. You're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, April 25th, down at our camp from Mojave Valley, Arizona. We are having what we call open house 3. And our open houses are basically a free try ass out type event. If you're on the fence about getting into pro wrestling, or you just want to get in the ring, see how it feels, now's the time to do it. I mean, it's free. What do you got to lose? You come in, you sign your waiver, or you get in, you listen to our little spiel, and as long as you can do what we say, nobody's gonna get hurt, So
And mostly everybody that wants to try it, that doesn't really know, that's on the fence, they're gonna know once they take that first ball.
exactly.
Oh yeah.
You could tell it in their face and their eyes. Once they hit that mat, they're like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." But then everybody reacts
Others who
different.
want to cry.
Yeah, everybody reacts
Fall out of the
different.
ring.
So it's my thing is always just it hurts a lot less when you commit.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me is
Well, to me, I would want to be as loose as possible.
yeah.
My opinion,
Yes.
when you hit that, like you said, keep your arms out, or,
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's like 5, 6, 7 different things you try to remember in midair. Eventually, though, it becomes repetition. You get it down.
yeah.
And, Cody's amazing at bumping, and, he can just snap it, bam. And most people, I think, initially would look at that and be like, how are you, because it takes a little while to get to. But usually when people very first start out, especially if people are looking at them, nobody likes that, right? And you don't know what you're doing, but you get over that. It's new guy stuff. But like I said, we'll just work with anybody that wants to learn how to work. I mean, we're not assholes. Like we're gonna, come down and check it out. Like that's all I ask. Come in, meet us, get in the ring, have a good night. We're gonna have a great time. We have the featured match to showcase what's possible. And what I mean by that is, I don't know of any other camp or school out there, maybe I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, but that actually will take someone from A to Z, but by the time they leave or graduate, have a theme music and their gear and a character, you know what I mean? I don't know of anyone else that's doing that, and so it's very important to me to be different and really go across that line, because I'm putting my name on these people once they're graduated and they're out there. Gladly, I'm sure in almost every case, but I want them to be professional. I want them to have everything they need to be successful, and go out there and learn.
Yeah.
So that'll make them feel like somebody when they've got the name, got the
Correct.
music, and everything. When
And
they
you
go
know,
out,
this
you know.
don't, you know, I don't want to be this be bad, but don't expect everything. You know, you gotta show you want it a little bit. You know, we're gonna help you do all that, but I mean, you gotta show. Well, you pick everything for me. You know, what do you want to do? How do you want to create this persona that you want to take out into the world and be? You know, we're there to help you, but not just. Don't throw your hands in the way. You figure it out. It's like, no, let's figure it out together. That's how we are going to grow these stars. You know, that's you come into the wrestling business. You want a creative mind. You want to create magic. Let's do it together. You know, so that's what I say.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't take a character and put it on somebody without. I mean, the whole thing about it is the best characters usually in wrestling are themselves with the volume turned up, right? And so if somebody walks in the door and they already have an idea of what they want to do, that's great. Let's do it. That's your dream. Let's hit it. But let's sculpt it and let's round it out and let's figure out what's best and what's not, and then, you know, do this over here and maybe work on this a little bit more. And you know, so just every day they come in, they get better and better at all different, you know, areas of what we do.
Just like in the ring, when you're creating the story of the match, it goes no different to where you're putting in your character name, your backstory, your music. You put the same creativeness into that as you did in your match. You know, that's the way.
Okay, when you do a match, and the reason I'm asking this is I was talking to Ricky Dragon Steamboat, and he told me that when he has a match, like for instance, he started naming a match that he had did, and he said it had 167 moves. Is that accurate, or is that just the way he did it? Or?
I can't say it's average. Okay, so
Yeah.
when Ricky was wrestling, they did a lot of spot or house shows. So without TV and social media, you could do the same show on your loop, on your tour, right? Same match.
Yeah.
So whether I'm just naming people, whether it's him and Flair or whatever, go out and have an hour-long match, I could totally see where there'd be that many spots. But if you do it over and over, you know, or you change it and say, oh, yeah, I like that, let's do that. You know, you remember it, just body and mind over and over in repetition. But I wouldn't, you know, I've never actually counted how many different things in a regular match. But honestly, nowadays, they don't have house shows. They don't have, you know, spot shows. They usually just live on TV now.
Yeah.
And, you know, that being said, that you might have a 3 to 7 minute match on average if you're in the main event, or, you know, as something, I don't know, it just depends. I mean, sometimes 20-minute match, or, you know, PLEs, pay-per-views are different, but it depends on how much time you're given. I wouldn't say that's average, though, at all. It's definitely a lot less. But I'll tell you one thing, though. I do know people in this business at a high level that they will find out who they're being booked against sometimes weeks in advance. And someone had a notebook. She is writing down move for move, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, y'all shit. You know, sometimes you only got a couple hours to figure it out together. But if you got a little time, you should get together, you know, and figure out what you want to do. What's the point in that match? What story are you trying to tell? What are you going to do next week, right? What happens after this? What's happened before this to make this happen? You just got to really get in and get involved and actually care. And, you know,
Correct.
you could really make some magic there. Well, you know, know your role. Like, what's your spot on the card? You know how to tables match, probably won't go through a table.
Yeah.
You know, in golf, right? So are you the opener? You know, what's your job? Everybody has a specific job too, within the match structure and the card structure. If somebody, not to pick on tables, if somebody did tables, you're not going to go out and do tables after them. It just doesn't work that way. So, but anyway, yeah, a lot of people at a prominent level will write down if they have enough time. If it's a PLE match, they know where they're working. Oh yeah, right. You know, and then you get together with your buddy and be like, hey, this is what I got. What do you got, right?
Especially when you said less house shows, you have a lot more time too, because now you're not working 250 days a year.
Yeah.
You're working 50 to 60 days a year. You know, so that's a lot more time to kind of
let it breathe.
Yeah. That,
Wrestling has changed a lot from the time I'm talking about. You know, these guys are out there, weren't at home. They were always gone.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
one of the things that I liked about the business. Like, as I, I was really excited just to be kind of on the go. That's one of the things that I kind of fell in love. Like, they're in a new city every night. You
Yeah,
just go
yeah.
on the go. That's pretty much how my life is anyway. So I mean, it's just great, you know. So it's I wouldn't say it's depressing to hear that they're going from 250 days a year to 60 days a year because you're with your family and you're home more. But you know, when you're a little kid, that's kind of the reasons you want to get in the
Yeah,
business. You
yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do the grind.
Yeah, exactly. As an independent wrestler, that's what I am hoping for, is just to here, you know. That's the goal, man.
If you got one thing that's in your mind about wrestling, maybe a match you saw or what impressed you about it, wanting to be in it. This goes for both of you.
Go ahead.
But mine was very, very different. A lot of people actually remember their first thing as a match. Mine was a promo.
Promo.
Very first time I've ever experienced wrestling was a promo between Triple H and The Rock.
Oh, okay.
I got into wrestling because of my autistic brother. We loved wrestling, and he always told me that we were gonna do that. We were gonna do that. You know, when I got older and realized, you know, didn't bless him with the God skills blessed me with, I told him, I said, I'm gonna go live this dream for the both of us. And
There you go.
now that I got that opportunity, it was just I had the foot in the door and I kicked it open. And now hopefully we can just kind of go. But that was my first experience, and then I'll never forget. It was an episode of SmackDown. You know, I walked in to my brothers and just really went. I was just fascinated. And then 1999 is when that started, and I've never looked back since.
So you didn't really see anything before that, or?
No, never.
Huh?
I went back, and later, later in life, and I was a little bit young adult, went back to the WCW days, the TNA, AWA, and all that good stuff, and the New Japan, and to learn that there was other things out there other than the WWE, you know, and then that just takes you, expanding so much more, because you find out that there's so many different styles of wrestling, you know.
Well, that's like me. I can find myself watching hours a week of this one, that one, the AEW, and then
Oh yeah.
just, you know, but then before you know it, it's like, it's just too much, you know. So.
Well, it never stops.
Lot of
It's hard to go back and reflect when there's just constantly something new every week, you know. So it's the soap opera that never ends. They don't have an off season.
Yeah, I cut it back to WWE pretty well. I watch AEW if I hear
Right.
good match or
Correct.
something like
They
that.
are.
Turn.
It's weird because like the good thing about the business, especially for guys like us, is there's more places to work, more money to be made, right? And like I said, things are expanding. Companies are starting to raise, and you know what do they say? All tides raise ships or whatever, right? So it helps everybody because there's contract negotiations back and forth, and then so on and so forth. Top 5-6 companies in America, you probably make a healthy living.
Yeah.
That being said, though, there's so much content. Who's watching it all? I don't have time for it, right?
Yeah.
Like you said. So you kind of have to pick and choose your favorites. And so with all that content, it kind of waters it down a little bit. You know, and not necessarily if you watch just one, let's say, but sometimes, I don't know, if you've been around at least for as long as I have, I feel like I haven't seen everything. But some things will really excite me because, you know, it's either brand new or it's something that I haven't seen in a long time, you know, or things are changing or evolving, and which they always are. And just to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, in the 80s in particular, like for Ricky or whatever, they would usually call their spots live out there in the ring. You know, have a few things planned maybe, but, you know, depending on who they're working with. Versus a guy like Randy Savage, he'd have the whole thing mapped out 3 weeks in advance, move for move for move, which at that time was a little weird. Now it's not, but now an agent pretty much gives you what you're going to do, and then you kind of dabble with it, but you don't have to come up with it on your own. That's, like I said, once again, high-level company. Depending on who you're wrestling for, but you can be very creative, especially in the independent level and smaller promotions. You come up with your own stuff, you know, and kind of guard yourself, of course. You're not going to do anything crazy and dangerous in front of 50 people, most likely. You know, but that's something else that just has to be learned and taught as things progress. You know, what are you really trying to get out of your career? Are you trying to just wrestle for 2 years on the weekend, or are you serious? You know, like Cody, like he's going to take it all away. You know, and you dedicate your life to it. The sky's the limit for sure.
Wrestling has changed so much, you know.
Yeah.
Like right now, that what they call it, the gorilla room, and all these guys are in there, and I mean they can talk to the refs. Hey, tell him this, tell him that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think that's been going on for a while.
yeah.
I mean,
But I'm just saying, the way technology is getting better
Oh,
and better,
yeah.
and,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Now they're kind of
changed it.
exposing a lot of the curtain stuff, you know. Everybody has different mixed feelings about that. You know, I wouldn't go too deeply into it, but that's
Yeah.
where the business has changed. Kayfabe is,
Pretty dead, yeah.
you know,
Which,
I hate to
you
say
know,
it, but
it's okay. But like when I was a kid, it was me and my best friend used to say, yeah, it's fake, but the pay-per-views are real.
Yeah.
You know, you come up with something in your mind to justify it or make it relate. I know that ain't that ain't real, but they really hate each other. Somebody does something really good and performs amazingly, and as a kid, you're just like, oh, and that had to be, you know. And but I didn't care as a kid if it was completely 100% all predetermined and character. Like that's fine. That means I could probably do it. You know what I mean?
Boy, as a kid, I don't really think that runs through your mind.
I don't even remember. I'll be honest. I don't even remember the time where somebody told me it was. Oh, that's a big. I really don't. I think my mind just figured it out, and I loved it even more when I figured it out.
I think that
My-
we tried to say.
My dad was born and raised in Tennessee, a little south of Knoxville. And his two brothers, Uncle Jim and Uncle Tom, they be in there watching them wrestling. And I tell you what, you went in there and told either one of them that was fake. They were ready to fight, man.
Yeah.
And I mean fight.
Oh, especially if this is your profession, I think you don't need to take it too far, but you need to understand that if you have never been in that squared circle, you have no business to say it's fake, because like you said, until you have smacked on wood with a little bit of foam or hit cables that are pulled up steel bridges, it's just. It's not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
It is like I said, it's a very taxing business.
Yeah.
And fake is the biggest word that insults a professional wrestler, because it is a profession, you know. And they are putting our lives on the line each time we're in there, and we're keeping each other safe, but putting on a show for you. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, you understand what wrestling is. So people that say it's fake just have no clue.
No clue.
You know, they just have no.
You know, I don't. It's not for everybody. Yeah, definitely not. But they can still respect it. For the art form it is, and the fact that we are putting our bodies on the line.
Yeah, I had somebody argue.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
I mean, like,
it's weird. It was always weird to me that somebody could say it's fake when there's nothing fake about falling off a 20-foot ladder.
yeah. Yeah. What do you do?
It's just, you know.
Oh, yeah. Grin and bear it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's all that is.
You can learn how to fall, but your body's still gonna absorb.
Okay, what's the first thing memory or what turned you on about wrestling?
Honestly, if I could sum it up, I would say it was the larger than life characters. It was the fact that they didn't seem human. Yeah, they were like, at the time in the 80s, late 80s, it was like superheroes, right? You know, and back then the style of work was different, but the WWE was big on big guys that looked like superheroes, and that was badass. That was cool. When I got a little bit older, I was more of a Bret Hart guy. Always be a Bret Hart guy, especially after meeting him in 2011. Awesome dude. But I grew up with him. I was like, that was my dude. He was different. He was kind of the first one to jump out of the Hogan era and quicker, more athletic, smaller. And then the business was evolving and changing a little bit right there too. And it kind of had to. But he was my favorite as a kid. And, going through negative times or bad times, I could always turn back to wrestling, and especially Bret, because he was like my hero. You know what I mean? Yeah. At 9, 10 years old. And so, honestly, I always think about if I could do that for someone else, if I could help a kid in their time of need, if I could be hope or something to where I'm gonna do that someday, or
A little bit of joy.
yeah, man, just to be able to give back what was given to me. That's kind of the dream right there. So
Yeah, I mean, to be in the line of the business that you admired so much as a child, it's just nothing better. There's nothing better.
Now, me, one of my memories, I guess, that sticks out the most is when Andre the Giant grabbed me and put me on the shoulder.
that's a memory. It might be in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Something real for
That was pretty cool, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I remember I went to shake his hand. I mean, his fingers come up here to me. And
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I was just a little kid, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought you.
Not very many human beings on Earth can say that.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So it's
And that's such a big thing as a kid is interaction. You know, if you were in the crowd, if they just interacted with you, you never forget it. And me and Cody talk about this quite often, interacting with people in the crowd. A lot of these smaller indie shows that I've been to in the past 4 or 5 years, there's not a lot of good crowd interaction. That's why I'm big on, character work and being able to interact with the crowd, because there's kids there, man, they're never going to forget it. It's going to stick with them forever if they've never seen wrestling before and that's their first experience. And I can go over and talk some smack to them like, it's got to make everyone's day, right?
Well, that's what I like about Cody Rhodes, man. He'll take that belt off and
Yep.
give it to a
Yeah.
kid, you know,
Or Brett with the glasses, remember?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, oh yeah. Like Randy Orton, now I don't remember him being one-on-one as much with kids as he is.
well,
now.
Randy has changed. I was not a
Yeah.
Randy's my guy. His is Bret Hart. And
He's
I'm a
changed
Ray
a lot.
Orton guy. I was never a Randy Orton guy growing up. I was like a Batista and a Rey
Yeah,
Mysterio. That was
yeah.
like my era. But I was let's say the 2008 to now, I think there's nobody better in the business than Randy Orton. He's the greatest of all time.
When he came back, he was just
Yeah.
all bulked
That's
up.
I got it labeled like
Yeah, he was doing some working out. that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep. Something like that. No, yeah, for sure. He's awesome. Randy is one of the best, and he doesn't actually get enough credit. But it's good to see him in the main event of WrestleMania this year. That's great. I mean, look at these. For as long as he's been around, just didn't really see that coming. Wasn't on the old bingo card, but I think him and Cody is a great story to be told.
Oh, yeah.
As it has, it's already a good story. It's already built up. It's already been,
I mean, there's so much history happened.
Yeah.
There's so much history there that everybody was, there's been so much talk on the McIntyre and Cody thing, and it's just for anybody that knows about the wrestling business and marketing and money, obviously knows Randy and Cody are just it just makes sense.
it's the money.
Well,
It makes
last
sense.
year, the one that made me mad was Cody and
Cena.
Cena.
Yeah, I think
And I've always liked Cena, but I was up there going,
Yeah.
I was pretty upset about it too.
Yeah. So you mean like because of Cena being a bad guy, or do you mean like
The way the match
the way the match?
taking the belt from him, period, you know.
Especially the way he
And
did
the
it.
bad guy, I didn't like the bad
Yeah.
guy.
But
But,
he changed his. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
They just Cena changed his style so much to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
He couldn't pop the crowd, so he had to slow it way down, and he was wrestling like Hogan from 2000.
I think he did an amazing job. I don't think he did anything
Given the
different. to
Well, when he
what
got
did.
up and said on that turnbuckle and said, "I can't do this no more," you know,
On
I'm
WrestleMania?
sure. No, this was afterwards, after he was a bad guy for a little bit. I think it was SmackDown, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Really?
But he got up on the turnbuckle there and he said, "I can't do this anymore." You know, and I'm sure this was all scripted, and that's when they made the turn of him to go back. You know, I was happy to see that because I've always
I think
liked
everyone
Cena,
does.
you know.
Well, it needed to be done. He couldn't leave it back.
No, it wouldn't have happened. I just don't think that would have happened. I think it was like I said. I think it was brilliant. It couldn't. There's so much that you could say about it. Everybody will have an opinion, but I
Yeah.
think that is the greatest heel turn behind Hogan. By
Yeah.
far. So I think no matter what or how anybody wants to look at it, we will always look at it as those are the two greatest turns in the history of the wrestling business. So it'll always be talked about.
Now me, I have never, ever, ever liked MC Punk. I think he is a punk.
After what just happened on Monday Night Raw.
But I'm just saying, I've never liked that guy. When I was leaving WrestleMania, I looked over and he's up on the podium there being interviewed, and I had a friend of mine, I was like, oh hell, fuck you, punk! Really? As loud as I could, you know, and everybody turned around and looked at me, and Joe's like, just get out of here, boy.
He was up at the post show?
Yeah, he was up and they were, you know, interviewing me, talking to him, and I yelled it real loud, man. He heard me, he kind of looked and
Yeah. That's great.
I had to though.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Hey, that's your voice.
Yeah, I never.
You pay a ticket to get there, you know, and have a good time and say.
And I was up in nosebleed. That's what pissed me off.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But Hammer said I won't be up there in nosebleed this time. So
Good.
he's taking care of me.
Good.
That's amazing.
And see,
that's what's up.
Are they setting something up to where he's gonna be on camera at some point? Is that something?
I've been talking to him. I mean, I want to be down there at ringside.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is
that'd be cool.
sometimes they'll bring him down and.
And he's been talking about me helping him. You know, he's 74, and you know, have somebody there to write names down, and then you know, just help him.
That's awesome. So I mean, that's just
I just told him he ain't got paid.
to be affiliated with that is incredible. Yeah.
Paid my way to wherever we're going,
Right.
but you have to pay me.
I'll tell you what. Sometimes in this business, it's all about who you know,
Yeah.
or who's willing to stick their neck out for you. You know, those two things are very huge. That being said, you know Greg Valentine. So if I can somehow get you to come in and work a match, the very last match, imagine it now, Greg the Hammer Valentine, final match with Rise and Create. I'm just saying, it could happen. You never know. Seriously. You know, you could think about it. You could think about it.
It'll take that.
And I'll tell you what, if I could get that guy in the ring, I don't care how old he is, it would be an absolute honor.
I know he did a match. It's been a couple years ago.
Right.
I talked to Chris.
There you
Yeah, I'll
go.
talk to him. I'll ask him.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Just saying down the line. No, we'll do
Okay.
it.
Well, now I got to know.
Uh-huh.
How'd you get your name? Ring name?
Stephen the Truth Douche. I'll say it
Oh,
now.
Douche.
Yeah, Douche.
I thought it was douche.
Most people do.
Yeah. See, that's the best part of
Even one
that.
dude was like, "That's douche." I was
Right.
like, it can't be.
But that's heat, baby. It is heat because think about it like this. They'll chant douche and it'll drive me nuts. How easy is that?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
pronounced douche.
That's right.
Very easy.
That's
Also the acronym STD. Come on, everybody in the world is this. I mean, I wore my shirt the other day around town in Kingman. I had like 10 people be like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Look on the back, baby.
look
It's
on the
me."
back, yeah.
You know, and yeah, but a lot of people don't see the little hyphen in there, and they're like, "It's even the truth douche." I'm like, that's actually kind of cool, but no, it's not. That is douche. Yeah, man, I don't know. Because my name's Joe Rogers. Okay. Kind of a long story with that too, but when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I used to wrestle with my dad, you know, on the ground, and he'd teach me some things and just kind of roll around. But I remember as a kid, I must watch some sort of wrestling around that time, like Roddy Piper, Hogan stuff. But I would run into the hallway, but I'd be like, and in this corner, Steve, as a little kid, like 3 or 4, and then run at him. I don't know why, I always remember that. My dad always remembered that. So it's kind of paying homage to that, it's throwing back. Because I had an Uncle Steve, but that had nothing to do with what I was thinking at the time. I don't know why I think Steve. I just knew that. And in this corner, right? So yeah, keeping along with the Stephen thing and the acronym, you know, just easy. And it's not that I'm going for easy, but something that's memorable and marketable, you know, like you want to be able to
Being a bad guy,
This he is.
like you said, say, "Hey, douche,
Right.
you know.
And I'm like,
That's
Yeah.
That's what people that's what people don't understand. It's like, why is his name STD? Well, if you know about the best in business, you know instantly once he comes out of that curtain, he's going to get berated.
Yeah.
So and that's just the way.
Yeah.
That's the way. It's just the way it is. That's
I mean,
it's what you want.
you know, you want to be punchable. You want to be able to, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and I can pretty much get anyone there as my girlfriend. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
But no.
A heel is a heel.
He was yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was a,
you know, anything can change at any time. You know, it doesn't always have to stay that way. And you know, like at this point, I don't think I would personally, and you never know, I would change the character or completely change to something else. I might though. You know, in wrestling, you have the option to do that. You have the ability to reinvent yourself.
yeah.
So, you know, but right now I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna keep it flowing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's good though you kept that name from when you were a kid. You know, at least it's Steve. You know, you're carrying that.
A little Easter egg.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
where
yeah.
that's where Dreamheart came from for me with Cody Dreamheart. You know, me and my brother both had the dream. He didn't. I had the heart to keep this going and not let it die. The dreamer. You know, we had the dreams. I have the heart.
So Cody is your first name.
Correct.
And, that was like he sent me a message, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was you.
Right. Yeah.
And then they had to explain.
It is confusing, yeah. When I was wrestling in Vegas, they called me Joey Steve. I'm like, all right, that works, you know, because at first there was confusion, and honestly, I don't know, I was kind of funky one day, and I'm just like, the first day, and I was like, why are they calling me Steve? And they're like, oh my God, they know that. I was not used to it yet, because the actor was brand new, and they had seen it online, and that's how I was communicating, because I was told to make a character, even though I was brand new. Anyway, another story for another time. But yeah, so it ended up being Joey Steve in Vegas, so I thought that was pretty fun.
All right. Well, we'll wind her up here.
All right.
I appreciate you guys.
Hey, man, it was great to sit down with you.
Why?
And,
Definitely we could do this again.
Oh,
Yeah.
One question. When I met you guys, we talked a little bit about God.
About
No,
God?
God.
They don't.
You have beliefs?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm here talking to you for a reason because of it.
That's right.
The opportunity of me having to be in wrestling again when I didn't think it was going to come up. I was going to go into wrestling, but I was going to be a business, you know, later down the line with my nutritionist company that I'm a part of right now. Once this opportunity came up, this is all in, all running. This is what my life consists of. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for God. He's made me the man who I am today.
I can hear that. What about you?
Yeah. You know, I'm a very, very spiritual person. There's so many things that have happened in my life. I could tell you stories for days, for years. I got to write a book someday about it because it's just crazy, man. I mean, I've been all over, the highs, lows of lows. I've been successful. I've been an addict on the street. I've literally I've done it all. And I've got a million stories. I've seen a million things. But what I can tell you is I have seen things that are not normal or do not belong on our regular plane of existence. I've seen things from the beyond. I've seen miracles. I've seen things appear and disappear. I have had communication with things, like, you know, not in a nutty way, but in a good subtle way, in a good grounding way, in a good faith way, you know what I mean, to where I know that there's more than what's going on here. And, you know, and I am into that. You know, I try to meditate once in a while and just figure out what's best for me and you know, how to progress forward. And sometimes if you're in a bad spot, that's a great thing to do that I picked up, you know, is coming back to knowing that there's more there, you know.
That's like me, 1980, I was on my bike, and a lady cut me off. I hit her in the front end, went under the hood and went under the front, and she run me over, and I was under the car. And then she backed up.
Oh, gee.
Thinking that, you know, trying to get out of the way, and they balled me all up, busted me up. I had 4 broken ribs, 3 fractured, you know, and the fractured ones, you know, snapped and come to the skin, and, you know, so I was down 4.5 years. But I died for over 2 minutes the first time. That brought me back. Second time, it was over 4 minutes. The doctor done left. The nurse told me, she said, I was there getting ready to toe tag you pretty well, you know, and send you down. And she said, I hadn't got the stuff off of you yet, you know. And she said, all of a sudden I heard boop. You know, and she said, what? Boop, boop. She said, I went around the doctor after he's back. Wow. You know, so God save
You're a miracle baby. There's gaps. You
well,
were
it's
meant to be
when I was
here.
born, man. I was
That's
4 pounds in 1961. Most babies died.
wow.
Yeah. 61 of them.
You know, I wanted to ask that because I know when we talked, you guys said that you had some things going on, but you know.
Oh yeah.
Look what you got, man.
Yep.
Tell him.
The support system that we have behind us. I mean, it's just incredible. You know,
Synchronicities are
absolutely. We are. Yeah, everything is lined up for a reason, man.
It's just been crazy how things have progressed. There's no way it's random. No, the way that things have kind of fallen into place, like, oh man, I like I said, I've seen things that are like, okay, I know something going on here, you know.
We don't got like you two meeting, and like you said, you gotta got
Yeah.
Just
get that bond.
I mean, aren't you
or
different?
even us, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't
for
know
sure.
you guys were
Absolutely.
there.
So
I go walking by, I'm like, man,
It's all
Luthador.
you were meant to be here for a dream on the STD, and we were meant to be sitting here with Roaddogg. You know, there's
Yeah,
all
that's right.
it's synchronicities.
that's right, for real.
But yeah, I wanted to touch on that anytime that I can talk to somebody, you know. And
Best question?
the way I look at it, it's right here, and that's between you and the man above, not anybody else. You know how you feel, you know, and I know, you know, I know where I'm going when I died. You know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's not that's all it takes. It's good. All right, we'll end it. Peace, love, dog out.
It's pronounced douche.